A big thanks to Boosteroid for sponsoring this video. Stick around to the end to find out more.
We've been circling the tower since the... Wait, there! Joker is making his move!
Wow, this is garbage. You actually like this?
No, the title isn't fake, and no, this isn't my April Fool's video, which by the way, you should go watch, linked in the description. Despite what you may be led to believe, this video isn't a complete joke. In the short time that I have, I want to make the case that this boss fight is not only a valuable addition to Arkham Asylum, but also an important part of the wider narrative that these games follow. To be clear, you know that this fight is bad, and I know that this fight is bad, so don't take what I say too seriously. All I'm trying to do is look at this fight from a different perspective, all while doing my best to defend this extremely disappointing ending to an otherwise incredible game. On top of that, we'll go over some of the best Batman Joker moments that Arkham has to offer. Now, in terms of Titan Joker, the key here is actually to treat this less like a boss fight and more as a method of telling a story through gameplay.
I thought my jokes were bad.
Okay, bear with me, this is going somewhere. First, we need to take a look at the Arkham series as a whole. As many of you have already heard before, the Arkham games tell us the story of Batman and Joker. Origins gives us, well, the origin of this relationship, City shows us the end, and Night gives us the aftermath and impact of said ending while tying up loose ends. The important thing to understand is that Asylum shows us a typical example of when the Dark Knight has to stop the Clown Prince of Crime, in this case involving a large-scale breakout at Arkham. Each game also happens to have a significant story event between Batman and Joker, usually during gameplay. Let's start with Origins, which takes place at Blackgate Prison's chapel. There's not a lot of difficulty in this interaction, it's just a few counters and beatdowns before Joker is defeated. But the point is not the gameplay, it's the story implications and the ideas being explored. Batman has defeated every other villain trying to kill him, and is ready to put the Joker's madness to an end. The mastermind in question is found on the ground laughing, thinking he has won, only to break his smile after realizing that Batman has overcome his unbeatable game. He draws his gun, appealing to the man standing in front of him that they're actually not so different, that they were created by the same society that has taken everything from them. He continues to antagonize Batman, pushing him to his limit to see if he can break his one rule. Batman may be angry, but he never lets his anger cross that line, despite the fact that so many would have done so if given the chance. It's cinematic, it's interactive, and it works really well. Now let's take a look at City. Admittedly, this is the only instance when there is no gameplay, but I think it does work best as a cutscene. Batman has the cure in his hand, and is reflecting on the nightmare that the Joker has put him and Gotham in for so long. When will it ever stop? Is not saving a life the same as taking one? While Bruce is contemplating his choices, the Joker ends up making it for him and foolishly stabs the wrong arm. Now we see a new side to Joker, one where he has no master plan, no trick up his sleeve, no sick joke waiting to be told, just a man who feels desperate, powerless, with his own mortality finally catching up to him. He attempts to salvage what little of the cure is left like a dog desperate for scraps before finally accepting his fate. Despite everything they've been through, despite all the horrible things that Joker has done to Batman, to his family, to his city, the Dark Knight is able to tell Joker that he has not changed, and that he will always choose to save a life. To us, it may be inspiring, but to the Clown Prince of Crime, it's just another joke. And with that, he draws his last breath with a smile. This is still one of the greatest moments between these two characters in any DC story, and it ends one of the most brilliant experiences ever put into a video game. And for the final chapter, we have the longest segment of the 4 games, once again with gameplay elements to elevate the sequence. Batman has finally let the Joker take over, and as he roams free in the Dark Knight's mind, we witness so much horror, so much destruction, all in the name of chaos. It feels strangely good to hold nothing back, to show no mercy to all of these villains who have hurt so many people, and yet it feels wrong, as Alfred desperately pleads with us to abandon this horrible crusade. And just when we think the Joker has won, Scarecrow exposes him to fear toxin, and it is here where we discover his true fear, the fear of being forgotten, being lost in the past, being nothing more than a distant memory. This is why the Joker needs Batman, why he needs to continue his legacy through the Dark Knight, because without him, he has to come to terms with his death and accept that his story is now over. The entire concept of Batman is using the fear of his enemies against them, and here we see it perfectly on display. He uses it to finally take control of his mind and defeat his greatest enemy once and for all. The entire segment of gameplay, once again, is not challenging. It serves to show us the psyche of the Joker through his perspective, so we can truly understand and experience his fear. It's extremely clever, maybe a bit too clever, but it's a fitting end to the psychological battle in Batman's mind. And finally, that brings us to Asylum. Not just the typical example of a Batman versus Joker story, but the beginning of the end for these two characters. Batman has thwarted the Joker's plans once again, and it's here where the Clown Prince has lost his patience. He's tired of Batman thwarting his schemes, never going along with their endless game, and refusing to see the world as he sees it. Notice the 2 things he says to Batman right before this fight.
You're trying to resist the change! That's not fair! Come on, give in! Come on! Change! Get crazy! It's the only way to beat me!
You know you want to.
That's been the Joker's entire goal since Origins, to make Batman let madness consume him and embrace the evil that the Joker has been living in for so long. Whether that be alive or dead, he's been trying to do that ever since this moment, when Batman decided to go out of his way to save the man who wanted him dead. No matter what the Joker has done, Batman never abandons who he is, and now the Joker is out of options. This scene demonstrates the dynamic between these two characters, where all the Joker wants is to see Batman changed into the monster that he has become. In other words, one is trying to break his enemy's moral code, while the other is trying to rehabilitate his enemy with 10,000 tons of TNT. Once again, looking at the other three games, these important moments with the Joker never relied on challenging gameplay. They were simply meant to be interactive for the player to enhance the story. So what if we took that same approach with Titan Joker? It's not trying to be a final fight as much as it's trying to show an idea. Similar to TN1 Bane in Origins, we've already faced significant threats before this one, specifically Poison Ivy and the two Titans, meaning this last fight isn't really a boss.
It's metaphorical!
Okay, hear me out. Joker's attacks are wild and uncontrolled. Despite their chaotic nature, once you figure out how to avoid this attack, you don't have to worry about it for the rest of the encounter. This represents most of the Joker's evil plans. While chaotic on a surface level, Batman always finds a way to thwart these plans, due to the fact that they can be predictable in their own twisted way. Joker then gets the high ground and lets his goons go do the dirty work, which is exactly what happens on so many occasions. Joker rarely fights Batman one-on-one, and usually resorts to henchmen or other villains to fight for him. Or in this specific case, Batman's greatest weakness: a feather. I mean, even when we think we're fighting him in City, it's actually just Clayface, and Joker almost never resorts to winning a fight with his fists. Finally, after Batman defeats all the thugs, Joker turns to the news helicopter hovering in the sky. We know from Night that Joker's greatest fear is to be forgotten, and here we see a man who's desperate for attention, whether that be from Batman or Gotham City. Playing as Batman, it's our job to pull him back down to reality to make sure that he never wins. Most players probably think it's a little silly how Joker lets this happen to him 3 different times, but that's the point. In this constant battle between Joker and Batman, order and chaos, the Joker never learns, never changes, and neither has Batman. It's a never-ending cycle of the Dark Knight defeating the Clown Prince of Crime, trapping Joker in a mess that he created. Right before the final blow, Batman tells Joker that he will never let him win, once again showing how every single battle between the two is supposed to end. Another thing that works really well in the context of the series is that Joker is tired of constantly losing, and using Titan on himself was a last-ditch effort to get some fun and some chaos out of a failed endeavor. But by trying to avoid said failure, he inevitably doomed himself by poisoning his body and ending his life that he had been too reckless with for so long. Joker's obsession eventually became his end, and we see that play out in City with some devastating consequences. So to recap, Origins introduces us to the beginning of this twisted, messed up relationship. Joker begins his fascination with this mysterious vigilante and makes it his goal to show the world that they are the same. Asylum's finale shows us the themes of this relationship, giving us a taste of the cycle that appears to have no end. City displays the final moments between the two, where the Joker has to accept his fate and Batman has to move on from his failure to save the Joker. Lastly, Night ends with the continuing legacy of the Clown Prince as he has one last effort to destroy the Dark Knight's moral code, and comes extremely close to succeeding before being put away for good. The entire story of these characters is brilliantly told, and while it may not be perfect, Asylum is just another important piece of that puzzle. So, does this make the Titan Joker boss fight good? Not in the slightest. It's too easy. It doesn't make sense for the character, and it feels put together at the last minute to give a sense of closure to a game that was already excellent. But when treated less as a boss fight and more like an extension of a much bigger story, I believe there is some value that can be found, even if that value is buried deep underneath a misguided vision. Sure, I didn't convince you that this is a good fight, but hopefully I challenged you to think a bit more outside the box, and find importance in something that otherwise would have been considered worthless. Regardless of what you think, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of this fight in the comments, or talk about your least favorite boss in Arkham. Have a great rest of your day, stay awesome, and now I get to tell you about Boosteroid.
Now, as a big Arkham fan, I would love to play Batman Arkham Origins whenever I want, but I can't since it hasn't been remastered on PS5 and I don't have my Xbox 360 with me at college. Ideally, it would be nice to have the game on PC, but my laptop doesn't have the technological capabilities to run the game correctly, and I really don't want to have to purchase a gaming PC right now. Boosteroid is a subscription-based cloud gaming provider that allows you to play a wide selection of already purchased or free-to-play games on Steam through an online server. Because it's through the cloud, you don't need to have a high-powered PC, as Boosteroid does all the work for you. You can pay a monthly subscription or a yearly purchase to use Boosteroid whenever you want during that period. They were kind enough to let me try out their service for myself, and it was very easy to link Boosteroid to my Steam account. I bought Arkham Origins and didn't even have to download the whole game. All I had to do was open Boosteroid and voila, I could play Arkham Origins on my laptop. Keep in mind that the gameplay is dependent on the connection and device of the user, so make sure to put that into consideration before purchasing a subscription. And make sure to use their free connection tester that they have on their website, linked in the description option as well. While performance varies based on connection, I was pleasantly surprised with my experience, even though my Wi-Fi connection on campus isn't the best. Thanks to Boosteroid, I'm able to play Batman Arkham Origins without needing to buy a high-quality gaming PC, and their servers cover a vast amount of games all available after purchasing on Steam. As with any cloud gaming service, make sure that your connection and device can properly make use of Boosteroid. Check the link in the description to try out their services or to use their free connection tester, and thanks again to Boosteroid for sponsoring this video.